think I can be as engaging as Roland, but first of all, I'd like to thank Roland for coming all the way from Calgary and sharing his invaluable experiences. I think it's crucial for us as we're embarking on the city building initiative that we learn from others and take account of those lessons into our approach. Objective at the end, as Roland's presentation identified, is communication has to be there. We have to hear what your concerns are during construction and take all steps that we reasonably can to address it. I would also say that construction will be disruptive. I mean, there's no way around it. So working with you as our partners is the only way we can try to mitigate those impacts. And there has to be reasonable compromise. With that in mind, my presentation isn't really on why light rail is needed. It's more on our communications and outreach plan, what we have done to date, what we will continue to do to ensure that we're engaging you and we're hearing you and trying to modify our approach to ensure that we're working as partners. For those who may not know the project, just quickly, I don't want to bore you with this, but it's a 20-kilometer system with 22 stops, starting at Port Credit at the south end and Steeles at north. The capital investment in the project will be paid by the province, and they have committed to $1.4 billion in funding. The project right now is in procurement. It is being delivered as a P3, so public-private partnership. The idea is we would hire a contractor, which is a consortium, many firms working together with different skill sets. They will design it, build it, operate it, and maintain it for 30 years. However, the fares, the revenues, the scheduled service will all be within our control, working with the cities. Right now, the timelines are such that we're expecting to award the contract in winter of 2018. Based on the work we have done to date, we expect the project will be in service by 2022, end of 2022. By in service, I mean the trains will be running. The train that will be running is being produced by ALSTOM. You probably would have seen the announcement yesterday by the minister that ALSTOM is opening a facility in Brampton. Basically, they'll be assembling these vehicles for our project as well as the Finch Light Rail project and any future projects that may come through the province or by municipalities. So it's actually a pretty good step because hundreds of jobs are being created in this niche market, which isn't common to Mississauga and Brampton. In terms of our communication and outreach plan, I mean, there are really three fundamental pillars here. You have the first basic step of engagement. We have taken a number of initiatives on this front. As you'll notice, we have, and you may have met them over the last few months, we have community connectors. Basically, the concept is simple. We have a very strong team of knowledgeable individuals on the project who are bilingual, I shouldn't say bilingual, they're multilingual, representing the diversity of the region. And the objective is go speak to every resident, every business owner along the line, understand what their concerns are, inform them of the project. And by concerns, I don't mean general concerns. The objective is really to focus on how construction may impact them, what are their limitations, and then look for ways of how we can assist them. So simple things like some businesses don't have any social media exposure. They don't have websites, they don't have Facebook, they don't have Instagram, they don't have Twitter. So our objective is to facilitate that so they can actually expose their business to a bigger audience. The other step we have taken is corridor committees. So we have about 5 of them spread from north to south. The objective is that we have a small group of representatives who at the grassroots level understand the local residents, the businesses, as well as institutions in some instances. They're influencers at that level. So we want to basically look for another way to outreach to the community that may not be along the corridor, but be part of the greater community. And the third piece is obviously the public information centers like events like today, as well as PICs, PCCs, events. We attended over 50 last year. Intent is to go to even more this year and continue that over the next 4 or 5 years as long as the construction remains. Again, objective simple. We want people to know what the project is. We want to hear what people, what their concerns are and see how we can modify our approach as we progress. This is just an example of the stop, typical stop. This is at Britannia. It's a pretty wide corridor today at Britannia, but we will have a stop in the center median with access at a signalized intersection. Continuing with my thought on the outreach plan, the next step after you've engaged people is obviously how do you support them. So, and in my view, this isn't just an effort by Metrolinx and the city. I want the consortium that is going to be managing the construction to be at the forefront of it. So we have provisions within our contract asking them to do a number of things so that they can be there alongside with us and the cities as well as the BIAs to ensure that the businesses are being heard and their concerns addressed through their means and methods of construction. I'll give you a simple example, which in my experience at Waterloo was a very good initiative, which is hosting trade shows. So after we award the contract, and there's this multinational consortium is there, they may not necessarily have all the subcontractors and all the service providers identified. We want them to invest locally. So what happens in a trade show is companies that are local here can offer services that the proponents or the contractor may not be aware of. You can imagine during 4 or 5 years of construction, they're going to have hundreds of crews. They're going to need food, accommodation, transportation. So we can have plans and we can have policies and we can work with the businesses to have programs where they are providing rebates. They have special programs for lunch, dinner, breakfast. We can be working with local transportation companies to move people who are coming and going out. They will be procuring or leasing a lot of vehicles locally, which will have to be maintained. They will also be procuring a lot of equipment locally, which will have to be maintained. There could be services like printing. A lot of paper is used on these projects. A lot of drawings get printed, so they need those services. They need catering services. They even need support from our local real estate industry to help them lease parcels of land for staging, which is basically hoarding for storing equipment, storing materials. They will need support locally for people who provide landscaping services, rental of fences. They will need support on local services that offer trucking to haul soil, local contractors that offer asphalt, concrete. So they're looking for all of those services. Even if they have those contracts signed, they're always looking for the best deal. So the trade show allows them to be exposed to all these local services that they may never actually ever have the opportunity to do so. So we're looking for that, and I'm hoping that we can do that not just at the start of the project, but actually do it at some regular interval throughout the project, so smaller businesses can actually go, have their 15 minutes in front of these multinational firms and be able to basically do their sales pitch, and hopefully good solutions will come out of that. This is just an example of a form from our current project on Eglinton, CROSSTOWN, where these are sort of steps we have taken to assist the businesses. There's advertising, there's signage, there's printing, and then there are events, as Roland mentioned, Kansas did a lot of those, and we expect the same. My objective is that public should know that despite construction occurring, businesses are open. That that there are programs, and we work with you guys to look at how we can entice them to actually come to the corridor throughout the week as well as on weekends, whether construction is there or not. We did that very successfully in Waterloo. I will give you an example. Basically, a local theater had popped up during construction in downtown Kitchener. So one way we wanted to entice people to come to that business was we actually on a Saturday closed off an area and they presented a movie to families for free out in the open. Yes, it's a construction site, but if you can work with your business partners, you can actually do certain things that they themselves may not actually think of. So that's the type of partnership we're looking for as we progress with the project. Sorry, my apologies. And I would say the last piece of our plan, and it's an extension of all the things that I've just mentioned, is community benefits. Again, the focus is we want our contractors, our future partners who will operate this project to invest locally. We want them to work with the local workforce agencies to look for how they can engage the local technical know-how here, hire them, whether that's for operations, maintenance, or construction of the system. We want to have their focus on the youth. So we have language in our contract where they are required to have apprenticeship programs. So we're working with our local colleges right now to see, okay, these are the sort of skill sets that they will need. You should look at programs that can be offered now before the contract's awarded, so the youth that are looking for this opportunity can actually can be facilitated in availing those opportunities. And then the third piece is there are certain groups that may feel that they're disenfranchised or they're just historically disadvantaged. So we want to make sure that the consortium actually looks out for those groups and actually pursues options with them. So the whole objective of this at the end of it is that we want to engage you, we want to be partners with you, and this is not just a relationship over a year. We're going to be here for 4 or 5 years, and then there's a 30-year concession thereafter. So we want to make sure that there's a good, healthy relationship between the businesses, the residents, and the operator of the system in the future. That's really the end of my presentation. This is just an example of the yard that will be built at 407 in Hurontario. This is where the system will be operated and maintained from. They will be housing at least 100 or 200 people at this location. Again, our aim will be through our contract that they hire individuals from the local market. So for instance, the drivers, they're not going to bring them from abroad. They will be looking at local bus drivers to fill those positions. They will be looking for people who can maintain light rails, and with ALSTOM opening its facility here, yes, it won't happen overnight, but within a few years there will be enough of a market where people would have gained those skill sets from that facility to actually provide support at this location. There will be maintenance services provided through this facility which are common to the local trades that are already here. So again, the objective is that we look at all options that are on the table to ensure that the benefit isn't to the companies that goes outside, it's actually locally distributed to the businesses.